piece of work I decided to do my speech on is called The Scarlet Ibis, and it's by James Hurst. It's a story about a boy named Doodle, and Doodle has an older brother. Doodle is very sick. He was born sick, and they didn't expect him to live, and his parents didn't name him until he was 2 months old, and they had already bought him a coffin just in case something were to happen to him. Doodle's brother, however, is athletic and very outgoing, and he's embarrassed of Doodle and gets angry that his brother will never be able to play like a brother should be able to play with his brother. One day, the brother tries to smother his little brother Doodle with a pillow. Doodle smiles at him, and the brother realizes that Doodle is actually kind of smart. So the brother tries to set out a goal to help Doodle learn how to swim, walk, run, play, do activities like a normal boy at his age would be able to do. One night they're at dinner and they see a red bird up in the tree, which is also the Scarlet Ibis. This is kind of why the book is called The Scarlet Ibis. It's a short story. It was a sick Scarlet Ibis, and it was fluttering up in the tree, and it fell from the tree, and they all watched this happen at dinner, and they walked outside, and it was a very sad time for them. After dinner, brother and Doodle go for a swimming lesson at the pond. Well, then it starts to thunder and lightning. Doodle became very scared and tired, but his brother was upset with him because he wasn't able to go swimming, so they started running back home after the thunder and lightning came. We started home trying to beat the storm. The lightning was near now. The faster I walked, the faster he walked, so I began to run. The rain came, roaring through the pines, and then, like a bursting Roman candle, a gum tree ahead of us was shattered by a bolt of lightning. When the deafening thunder had died, I heard Doodle cry out, "Brother, brother, don't leave me, don't leave me." The knowledge that our plans had come to nothing was bitter, and that streak of cruelty within me awakened. I ran as fast as I could, leaving him far behind with a wall of rain dividing us. Soon I could hear his voice no more. I stopped and waited for Doodle. The sound of rain was everywhere, but the wind had died and it fell straight down like ropes hanging from the sky. I peered through the downpour, but no one came. Finally, I went back and found him huddled beneath a red nightshade bush beside the road. He was sitting on the ground, face buried in his arms, which were resting on drawn-up knees. "Let's go, Doodle." He didn't answer, so I gently lifted his head. He toppled backward onto the earth. He had been bleeding from the mouth, and his neck and the front of his shirt were stained a brilliant red. "Doodle, Doodle." There was no answer but the ropey rain. I began to weep, and the tear-blurred vision in red before me looked very familiar. "Doodle," I screamed above the pounding storm and threw my body to the earth above his. For a long time, it seemed forever, I lay there crying, sheltering my fallen Scarlet Ibis. My interpretation of this is basically just not to push people too hard and to know people's boundaries and limits. And I believe the narrator was very self-absorbed, and he didn't realize that what he was doing was actually pushing his brother to his death. My personal connection with this story is I have a younger brother, and I always try to make sure he's on a good path and do whatever he needs to be in the right position. So when the narrator is completely opposite feeling about his brother and is just embarrassed of him and tries to help him for his personal gain, he doesn't realize that he gets too frustrated and he pushes his brother to his death ultimately. And I read this in 9th grade and it made me cry, but it's a very touching story and just makes you remember that you should just be humble and not expect too much out of anybody.